60 Ahadīth, and today we'll be reading from Babul Adhān wal Iqāmah. Babul Adhān wal Iqāmah, and the hadith will be Al-Hadīth al-Hadi wa Sittun, hadith number 61. Al-Adhān lughatan al-i'lām. The literal meaning of the word Adhān means al-i'lām, to make an announcement, a pronouncement, a proclamation. This is the meaning of the word Adhān. In our local language, there are different terminologies for Adhān. In Yoruba language, it is called pipe irun. Pipe irun. In my local language, it is called yiye sanla or sanlayi. Thus, sanla means salat. So yi, to call for salat. But adhan is al-i'lām, to make an announcement. This is why the ulama say, شُرِعَ الْأَذَانُ لِإِعْلَامِ الْغَائِبِينَ وَشُرِعَتِ الْإِقَامَةُ لِتَنْبِيهِ الْحَاضِرِينَ. The adhan has been legalized or legitimated in Islam to announce to those who are far away from the masjid that the time for salat has commenced. And the essence of the legislation of the Iqāmah is لِتَنْبِيهِ الْحَاضِرِينَ, to inform those who are already in the masjid that it is time to observe the salah. قال الله تعالى, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَذَانٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ, in Surah At-Tawbah. This is an announcement from Allah and His Messenger. And you also recall that Almighty Allah told Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ, announce the obligation of Hajj to all mankind. Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala in tafsir said, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam asked Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how will I convey this message of Hajj to all of them when my voice has a limitation? You ask me to pronounce, to proclaim to all mankind, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ, that Hajj is an obligatory duty upon them all. How will I achieve that when my voice has a limitation? Almighty Allah told Ibrahim, عَلَيْكَ الْإِعْلَامُ وَعَلَيْنَا الْإِبْلَاغُ. Your own is to announce. We will carry the message to their ears. All of them will hear this announcement. Some of the scholars will say, only those who had this iblag from Allah were invited for Hajj. So it's not about I have money. If you are not invited, you will not even have time to go there. I'lamu minhuma. Adhan min Allah wa Rasulihi means an announcement, a proclamation from Allah and His Messenger. Wa huwa ay al-adhan shar'an. Technically, al-adhan means al-i'lamu bidukhuli waqti salah, a proclamation, an announcement that the time for salat has commenced. This is why adhan is not given before the time of commencement of salat. It has to be when the time has started. For Salatul Fajr, the adhan will be given ba'da tulu'il fajr, after the Fajr has appeared. For Salatul Dhuhr, is ba'da zawali shams, after the sun has moved from the meridian. So for each of the 5 daily prayers, the adhan will not be given until when the time for salat has commenced. Al-i'lamu bidukhuli waqti salat al-mafruḍah. The adhan is to proclaim, to announce that the time of the obligatory prayer has entered. Bi alfadhin makhsusa, Adhān has special and specified expressions and wordings. You cannot just wake up and say, I am a professor of Arabic language. I want to give you a new style for Adhān. Ar-Rahman wa A'zam, Ar-Rahman wa A'zam. Nobody will take it from you. Because the expressions, the wordings are already stated in the Sharia. وَهُوَ عَلَى اخْتِصَارِهِ. In short, what Adhān is about is mustamalun ala masail al-aqidati. Mustamalun ala masail al-aqidati. Adhān has wordings and issues that are related to Aqidah, our belief. What is the Aqidah here? When you say Allahu Akbar, this is a fundamental belief in Islam that no one is greater than Allah. Adhān has kalimatu tawheed, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. So there are masail of Aqidah in Adhān. لأن التكبير, because when you say Allahu Akbar, يتضمن وجود الله. Allahu Akbar implies that Almighty Allah exists. Unlike what the atheists believe, that there is no God. To say Allahu Akbar implies that there is Almighty Allah and that He is the greatest being. وَإِثْبَاتَ صِفَاتِ الْجَلَالِ وَالْعَظَمَةِ لَهُ. Adhān also implies that all the adjectives that are used to describe greatness are for Almighty Allah. Al-Jalal wal-Azama. Because you are saying Akbar. Akbar is a superlative. Kabir. Akbar. So Allahu Akbar doesn't mean Allah is great. It is wrong to translate Allahu Akbar as Allah is great. Allahu Akbar means Allah is the greatest. Allah is great is Allah Kabir. Allah Kabir. Allah is great. But we are not saying He is great. We are saying that He is the greatest. وَالشَّهَادَتَانِ. When you say ashhadu Allah ilaha illallah and ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, tuthbitan tawheed al-khalis. They establish pure and undiluted oneness of Allah. This statement is what you need to make to enter Islam. You don't enter Islam by taking a ritual bath. The ritual bath is if you were ritually impure. Maybe you had intercourse with your wife. Otherwise, entering into Islam does not require a ritual bath. It only requires hadhihi al-kalima. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Welcome to Islam. That is it. Wa risalata Muhammad. It also implies that indeed Muhammad did not send himself. He was sent with a message by Allah. And this is why one of the scholars said, وَضَمَّ الْإِلَهُ اسْمَ النَّبِيِّ إِلَى اسْمِهِ إِذَا قَالَ فِي الْخَمْسِ الْمُؤَذِّنُ أَشْهَدُ وَشَقَّ لَهُ مِنْ اسْمِهِ لِيُجِلَّهُ فَذُو الْعَرْشِ مَحْمُودٌ وَهَذَا مُحَمَّدٌ. شَقَّ الْإِلَهُ وَضَمَّ الْإِلَهُ اسْمَ النَّبِيِّ إِلَى اسْمِهِ. Almighty Allah Himself joined the name of the Prophet to His own name. How did He do that? إِذَا قَالَ فِي الْخَمْسِ الْمُؤَذِّنُ أَشْهَدُ. Anytime the Mu'adhin says, while calling to the 5 daily prayers, أَشْهَدُ أَنْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ, he must say, أَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. وَشَقَّ لَهُ مِنْ اسْمِهِ لِيُجِلَّهُ. Even the name of the Prophet was taken from the name of Almighty Allah to show the might and greatness of Prophet. Fazul Arish Mahmud. Almighty Allah who created the heaven and the earth is Mahmud. someone with praise, you must praise him. Wahada Muhammadu. Muhammad means the praiseworthy. He is worthy of praise. So, وَتُوفِيَانِ الشِّرْكِ. When you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, the ulama will say that al-istithna'u fi siyaki nafi. Al-istithna'u fi siyaki an-nafi. When you say, Ashhadu, I bear witness, Allah ilaha, I Allah mahbuda bihaqqin, that no one deserves to be worshipped, illa, except Allah. What you are saying is that anything or anyone that people worship other than Allah is a lie. Because you have said, La ilaha, nobody, no deity, no God has the right of worship. Hada nafiyun. Illa Allah isbat. Only Allah deserves that right. So this statement is very strong. It's very strong. If somebody says, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wallahi, even if the person was a Christian 1 minute ago, he has entered Islam. 1 minute ago, a Christian, he now said, Ashhadu an la ilaha or la ilaha illallah, he is a Muslim at that moment. One of the Sahaba made a mistake of killing an enemy during the battle. When he pinned the enemy down, he raised his sword. The enemy said, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Sahaba killed him. He said, this man said it out of fear. He didn't mean it. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Hal shaqaqta qalba? Did you open his heart to know that was sincere or not? فَكَيْفَ بِلَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ إِذَا جَاءَتْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. What response would you give to Allah on the day of judgment when this kalima comes before Allah and said, this man made me out of sincerity? That Sahaba, wallahi, said, how I wish I had not accepted Islam before that day. Now there is a problem waiting for him on the day of judgment. So this kalima is very strong. What dua? Calling to prayer also contains prayer, supplication. What is that dua? Or calling, you are calling someone ila al-falah, to prosperity. Hayya ala al-falah, come to prosperity. What we are saying is that there is prosperity in salat. There is prosperity in salat. If you want to be prosperous, come to that salat. Hayya ala al-falah, come to prosperity. Yushiru ila al-ma'ad wal jaza. It indicates the hereafter and the reward that await you if you come to salat. Unfortunately, we have to force some of you before you come to salat. Hayya ala al-falah, you'll be walking out of the gate. This is prosperity. Any other thing apart from salat at that time is adversity. وَذَكَرَ الْعُلَمَاءُ لَهُ حِكَمًا عَظِيمًا. The scholars have mentioned that there are great wisdom in the calling to salat. Minha izharu shi'ar al-Islam. One of the wisdoms in calling to salat is that it exposes one of the signs of Islam. It's a sign of Islam that they are calling to salat. I think it's the hadith of Abdullah ibn Abbas, who said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, إِذَا أَرَادَ أَنْ يَبْزُوَ قَوْمًا, anytime he plans to go and combat a people, to engage them in a battle, he waits until subuh time. فَإِنْ سَمِعَ الْأَذَانِ كَفَّ عَنْهُ. If he hears the adhan during subuh, he knows there are Muslims. He will not go and fight them. وَإِنْ لَمْ يَسْمَعِ الْأَذَانِ أَغَارَ عَلَيْهِ. If he doesn't hear the adhan, he goes to fight them. So, meaning that the adhan is sha'iratun min sha'air al-Islam. It is one of the signs of Islam. One of the things that Islam cherishes so much, وَإِظْهَارُ كَلِمَةِ التَّوْحِيدِ. In calling to Adhān, you are also exposing the kalima of Tawheed. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. وَإِثْبَاتُ الرِّسَالَةِ. You are also establishing the fact that Muhammad was not a fake prophet of Allah. He was sent by Allah. His message is a true message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالْإِعْلَامُ بِدُخُولِ وَقْتِ الصَّلَاةِ. You are also informing people that the time for Salat has commenced. Imagine if there were no Adhān. How many of us set time to know it's time for Salat? وَمِنْهَا الدَّعْوَةُ إِلَى الْجَمَاعَةِ. Another purpose of the Adhān is to call us to congregational Salat. That it's time to congregate in the mosque for Salat. وَفِي الْقِيَامِ بِهِ فَضْلٌ عَظِيمٌ. In calling to Salat is a great virtue and excellence. لِمَا رَوَى الْبُخَارِ وَمُسْلِمٌ. Based on the hadith reported by Bukhari and Muslim, and Abi Hurairah ta'ala anhu, that Prophet said, لَوْ يَعْلَمُ النَّاسُ مَا فِي النِّدَاءِ وَالصَّفِّ الْأَوَّلِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَجِدُوا إِلَّا أَنْ يَسْتَهِمُوا عَلَيْهِ لَاسْتَهَمُوا وَلَوْ يَعْلَمُونَ مَا فِي التَّهْجِيرِ لَاسْتَبَقُوا إِلَيْهِ وَلَوْ يَعْلَمُونَ مَا فِي الْعِشَاءِ وَالْعَتَمَةِ لَأَتَوْهُمَا وَلَوْ حَبْوًا. The Prophet said, if people knew the virtue of 5 things, wallahi, they would have raced towards it. He said, لَوْ يَعْلَمُ النَّاسِ. If people knew مَا فِي النِّدَاءِ مِنَ الْأَجْرِ, the reward in calling to Salat, وَالصَّفِّ الْأَوَّلِ, and the reward in praying in the first row. The Prophet said, خَيْرُ صُفُوفِ الرِّجَالِ أَوَّلُهَا. The best row for men is the first row. وَخَيْرُ صُفُوفِ النِّسَاءِ آخِرُهَا. The best row for women is the last row. Listen, that is in a masjid where there is no partition between the men and the women. In our masjid here, don't say you have had hadith now. You now go and stand at the back. No. Because there is a partition between us and you, your own row, the best is the first thing. Do you understand? So, the Prophet said, if people knew the reward in calling to Salat, instead of fighting over Imam, we will all be fighting over the Mu'adhin position. But today people fight over Imam and nobody wants to call to Salat. Yet, the Prophet said, Al-Mu'adhinuna atwalun nasi a'naqan yawm al-qiyamah. Literally it means the Mu'adhins, those who call to prayer, will have the longest neck on your judgment. Now before you start thinking they will be like giraffe, that's what he's saying. It is a metaphor. Like when you say, Fulanun tawilu al-ba'd, he has long hand. It's no longer though, it means he gives. His hand reaches everybody. So, atwalun nasi a'naqan means they would be the most recognized people on the day of judgment. Everybody will know them. These are the Mu'adhinun. Not that their necks will be long. But like they will be at the top of everybody's day of judgment. If people knew this, we'll be fighting over who becomes the Mu'adhin. Now, he now said, Summa lam yajidu, and there was no way to be the Ladani or to be in the first row of the masjid. Illa an yastahimu alayhi, unless they cast lots. They say, write everybody's name on a sheet of paper. Throw it. Whoever picks his name would be the person to be in the first row. Lastahamu. The Prophet said, we would have casted lots over it. Even if it means we will cast lots, but anybody whose name is picked will be the one to call to prayer. We will be fighting ourselves to that extent. وَلَوْ يَعْلَمُونَ مَا فِي التَّهْجِيرِ لَاسْتَبَقُوا إِلَيْهِ. If people knew the reward in coming to the mosque early, لَاسْتَبَقُوا إِلَيْهِ, we will run, we will race with ourselves. Somebody will leave one minute, somebody will leave you later and say, where? Race! Like we say both. But the mosque is the last place we arrive. وَلَوْ يَعْلَمُونَ مَا فِي الْعِشَاءِ وَالْعَتَمَةِ لَأَتَوْهُمَا وَلَوْ حَبْوًا. If people knew the reward in praying Salatul Isha and Salatul Fajr in the mosque with the Jama'ah, even if you drag yourself, you crawl, wallahi, you crawl to the mosque. Because Prophet ﷺ said, أَفْقَلُ صَلَاةٍ عَلَى الْمُنَافِقِ الْعِشَاءِ وَالْعَتَمَةِ. The most difficult salat for the hypocrites to come to the mosque to pray are the Fajr prayer and the Isha prayer. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. So, وَغَيْرُهُ مِنَ الْأَحَادِيثِ الْكَثِيرَةِ. There are other ahadith that talk about the significance of the Adhān. وَالْأَذَانُ وَالْإِقَامَةِ, both the Adhān, the call to prayer, and the Iqamah. كل واحد منهما فرض كفاية على الرجال للصلوات الخمس. They are communal obligations for men in each of the 5 daily prayers. What is fardu kifaya? Al-fardu fardun. There are 2 types of obligatory duties. Fardu ayn, an individual obligation, wa fardu kifaya, and a communal obligation. An individual obligation is an obligatory duty in the Sharia for which you cannot be represented. You cannot perform it by proxy. Iṣẹ́ gbẹ̀sẹ̀ ni, àìfihàn mẹ́ni. You people don't understand Yoruba. The Yoruba will say, iṣẹ́ gbẹ̀sẹ̀ ni, Alhaji, Bakaji ọ̀nà. Iṣẹ́ gbẹ̀sẹ̀ ni, àìfihàn mẹ́ni. You know when you want to go to toilet to relieve yourself, can you send your son to go and do it on your behalf? I have found anything. You have to be the one to do it. Like the 5 daily prayers. Nobody can do it on your behalf. Fasting, Ramadan. So long as you are alive, nobody can do it on your behalf. If you cannot fast, you rather do fidya, nobody can do it on your behalf. But fardu kifaya means an obligatory duty in Islam, which is obligatory on the level of the community. Once some people have done it, is enough. Take for instance, Salatul Janaza. If a Muslim dies, is it compulsory for every one of us to go there and pray? No. Once some group of people have done it, is enough. Do we understand? So, the scholar said, calling to prayer and doing the Iqamah are communal obligations, meaning that if the muazzin has called to prayer now, anybody that comes after that doesn't need to call to prayer. Why is it that those who came in after the salat has been concluded did not go and start calling to their own prayer? You know, once it has been done by a muazzin in a particular masjid, it takes care of everybody that comes to pray that particular prayer until another prayer. Is that understood? For Iqamah, it is a communal obligation for everybody in one Jama'ah. Once the muazzin or anybody has done Iqamah for one Jama'ah, it is not compulsory for any other person. This is why even if you join the Salat, after 1 or more rakat have been prayed, you only join with Allahu Akbar. You don't say Allahu Akbar. You don't need it. Do you understand? The only people that need it are those who come after that Jama'ah has been concluded. They will do their own Iqamah. But anybody who joins that same Jama'ah doesn't need any Iqamah. Allahu Akbar, and you continue your Salat. Is that understood? وَهُمَا مِنْ شَعَائِرِ الْإِسْلَامِ الظَّاهِرَةِ. Iqamah and Adhān are part of the signs of Islam. They show that we are Muslims. يُقَاتَلُ أَهْلُ بَلَدٍ تَرَكُوهُمَا. Any people who abandon Adhān and Iqamah can be fought. I told you earlier, the hadith, if the Prophet ﷺ wants to fight any community, there is a battle, between the Muslims and the non-Muslims, he waits until Subuh. If he hears Adhan, he knows they are Muslims, he doesn't fight them. So, despite that it is fardu kifaya, Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah said that the ulama have an ijma that if the people of a particular village agree amongst themselves that for us in this village, no adhan, no iqama, they can be forced. وكان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا أتى قوما لا يعرفهم يستدل على إسلامهم بالآذان. If the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam approaches a people for the purpose of ghazwa or battle and he doesn't know their Islam, he waits. He waits until he hears the adhan. That's the hadith of others that I read earlier. وَعَلَى كُفْرِهِمْ بِتَرْكِهِ. If they abandon the adhan, he knows they are kuffar, because no Muslim will abandon the adhan. فَكَانَ يَأْمُرُ مَنْ يَسْتَمِعُ إِلَيْهِمْ فِي أَوْقَاتِ الصَّلَوَاتِ. The Prophet will command the Sahabi to go and listen during the time of each of the 5 daily prayers. Go and listen. Do you hear a call to prayer? If he says no, say they are kuffar. وَقَدْ شُرِعَ فِي الْمَدِينَةِ. Adhan was legislated in Medina. It was not in Mecca. Even though the obligatory prayer started in Mecca when Prophet did al-Isra wal-Miraj. But it was not until Medina, when the Salat was fully legislated on the Muslims, that the issue of Adhan came. حينما استشار النبي أصحابه في طلب طريق يعرفون بها دخول الوقت. What happened was that Prophet gathered the Sahaba. He gathered the Sahaba. He was seeking their advice. How do we make people to know that it is time for Salat? There were basically 3 opinions. Some of the Sahaba said, let us light fire like the Majus would do, the fire worshippers. So when it is time for Salat, we'll just light fire so people will know that it's time for Salat. They said, no, we will look like the Majus. Some of them said, why not let us ring a bell? There should be a bell. If it's time for Salat. You know that you have in the primary and secondary schools. When it's time for break, what do you hear? The timekeeper will go and ring the bell. This is what the Yahud, the Nasara are doing in their churches. They said, no, we look at the Nasara. Some of them said, okay, why not let us get a trumpet book so that when it's time for Salat, somebody will go and blow. Then we know it's time for Salat. You know, it is what the Muslims are seeing around them that they said, okay, why not do this? Until one day a Sahabi named Abdullah ibn Zayd. Abdullah ibn Zayd slept. Fara'a ar-ru'ya. So he had a dream. In that dream, he was taught the alfaz al-adhan. When he woke up, he went to Prophet and said, Ya Rasulullah, I had a dream last night. And in my dream, I was taught this and that. Prophet said, Bilal, come and listen to the alfaz al-adhan. So the alfaz al-adhan was revealed to the Prophet through a Sahabi. It was and Prophet took it from him. And this is one of the reasons why we say, as-sahabatu kulluhum udul. The Sahaba are trustworthy people. The Prophet believed in that Sahabi, and that is how we have the Adhan today. Is that understood? So he told Bilal and Abu Mahzura, his other Mu'adhin, to learn the Adhan from Abdullah bin Zayd. Are we following? So, liyatu ila salat fil masjid. The Prophet wanted the Sahaba to advise him on how do we inform people that it's time for Salat so that they can come. Fara'a Abdullah ibn Zayd al-Ansari. The Sahabi Abdullah ibn Zayd al-Ansari, Ra'a fil manam. He saw in his dream, Man a'alamahu sifat al-adhan. Someone, an angel, who appeared in the surah of a human being and taught him the adhan. فَأَخْبَرَ النَّبِيَّ بِرُؤْيَا أو برؤياه. He informed the Prophet of what he saw in the dream. فَقَالَ إِنَّهَا رُؤْيَا حَقٍّ. The Prophet said, it is a sincere dream that you have seen. فَأَلْقَهُ عَلَى بِلَالٍ. So he taught Bilal the Adhān, لِأَنَّهُ رَفِيعُ الصَّوْتِ. The reason why Bilal became the Prophet's professional muazzin was because he had the loudest voice among the Sahaba. So Adhān is to be made by somebody who has the loudest voice. That's what he says. No. Someone that has the loudest voice. Rafi'u sawt. Fakana afdala wasilatin li ma'rifati awqati salat. So calling to salat with the adhan became the best method of informing the people about the time for salat. So let us read the hadith now. Al-Hadith al-Hadi wa Sittun. Hadith number 61. And Anas ibn Malik. On the authority of Anas bin Malik, radiyallahu anhu, may Allah be pleased with him, qala, he said, Umira Bilalun an yashfa'a al-adhana wa yutira al-iqama. Bilal was commanded, Umira Bilalun, sigatu al-majhul. We call it passive, abi? The passive tense or verb in English, the passive verb. Tunde beat Ramani. You already know the beater, and the other was beating. Ramani was beating. Who is the beater? We don't know. So Umira Bilalun. Bilal was commanded. Who commanded him? You will know later. And yashfa al-adhan. To pronounce the wordings of the adhan twice. وَيُوتِرَ الْإِقَامَةِ. And to pronounce the wordings of the iqama once. In another riwayah by Imam Bukhari, he says, أُمِرَ بِلَالٌ أَنْ يَشْفَعَ الْأَذَانَ وَيُوتِرَ الْإِقَامَةَ إِلَّا الْإِقَامَةَ. إِلَّا الْإِقَامَةَ. That Bilal was commanded to repeat the wordings of the adhan twice, to pronounce the wordings of the iqama once, illali iqama, with the exception of the statement called iqama to salat. Wa huna ikhtalafa al-fuqaha. We will see the difference of opinions. When he said an yashfa al-adhan, the question is, the Allahu Akbar at the commencement of the adhan. We say it 4 times. Yet, shafu means twice. Some of the ulama say it has to be twice. Adh-Dhahiriyya, for instance, the Dhahiriyya Madhya, they say it has to be twice. Because they say, and yashfa. And yashfa. That's their own. It has to be twice, not 4. We will also come across the view of the Malikiyya in our discussion. It may not be today, inshallah. The Malikiyya of the opinion that, yes, this hadith must be understood the way it is. However, the takbirah would be 4. 2 will be silent, 2 will be pronounced loud. This is why you see the mu'adhinuna here, because they follow the Maliki madhab. Listen, they will say, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You understand? They say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la. That's why they do that. Because they know it is shuffle. It has to be twice. So you do 2. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. They will not do 2. So, Gharib al-Hadith. What are the vocabularies in the Hadith that require explanation? Umira Bilalu. Bilal was commanded. Mabuniyun lil majhul. This expression is in the passive sense, not in the active sense. It is not Amara Nabiyyu Bilalan. It is Umira Bilalun. Bilal naibul fa'il. Wal Amiru, the one who commanded Bilal, who was Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The ulama of hadith will say that some ahadith are mawkuf, لكن لها حكم المرفوع. They are statements of the companions, but they have the rulings of al-marfu', what Muslim said. Among the signs of this is when they say umirina, nuhina, kunna naf'alu kadha. All of these ahadith are hukm of rafa. If the Sahaba said we were commanded, take for instance the hadith of Atiyah on 8, umirina an nukhrij al-awatiqa wal huyyab. We were commanded. Who commanded them? The Prophet. So she could as well have said, Amarona Nabi. Nuhina. We were forbidden from doing such and such. Who forbade it for them? The Prophet ﷺ. If the Sahaba said, Kunna naf'alu kadha. During the time of the Prophet, we used to do this. Like the hadith of Jabir ibn Abdullah. Kunna nazilu wal Qur'anu yazil. It means the Prophet was aware and he didn't stop them. So all of these ahadith will have the ruling of the Prophet action himself, like takrir. So the Prophet was the one that commanded Bilal, because no other person could have commanded Bilal. Falahu hukm al-marfu'. So this hadith is marfu'. Al-Bayquni said, وَمَا أُضِيفَ لِلنَّبِي الْمَرْفُوعِ وَمَا لِتَابِعٍ هُوَ الْمَوْقُوفِ وَالْمَقْطُوعِ وَكُلُّ وَمَا أَضَفْتَهُ إِلَى الْأَصْحَابِ مِنْ قَوْلٍ وَفِعْلٍ فَهُوَ مَوْقُوفٌ ذُكِرٌ. So it is marfu'. وَاخْتَلَفَ أَهْلُ الْأُصُولِ. The scholars of usul have a difference of opinion. هل تقتضي هذه الصيغة وأمثالها الرفع أم لا? When an expression like this is used in the hadith, does it mean that the hadith can be ascribed to the Prophet or not? The more correct opinion is that yes, تقتضي الرفع, because the Sahaba are of the same level. They are all Sahaba. The only person that can command them is who? The Prophet. وَالصَّحِيحُ أَنَّهَا تَقْتَدِيهِ. A statement like this implies that the Prophet commanded it. لأن الظاهر, what is clear is that أن الآمر, the commander in this regard, من له الأمر الشرعي, is someone who has the power and the authority to legislate. وهو الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Prophet is the one that has the power. Almighty Allah says about the Rasul, وَيُحِلُّ لَكُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَيُحَرِّمُ عَلَيْكُمُ الْخَبَائِثِ. So he has the power given by Allah. And يَشْفَعَ الْأَذَانِ, to repeat the words of the Adhān twice. يعني يأتي بألفاظه شفعا أي مثنى. At least our women will understand مثنى. فانكحوا ما طاب لكم النساء مثنى. They will understand that one. والمثنى مرتان. مثنى means twice. And this is why some people erroneously interpreted the ayah to mean that Almighty Allah is commanding us to marry 9 wives. Because they say Mathna means 2, Sulata 3, Ruba 4. Can you imagine? هذا تفسير شاذ وباطل مجرم كبير. So they can marry 9 wives. 9. Waruba 4. Wakulata 3, 7. Mathna 2, 9. What kind of tafsir is this one? وَيُتِرُ الْإِقَامَةِ, to make the iqama once, just once. يعني يأتي بألفاظها وترون أو وترون. Both are correct. وترو or وترو. You say والشفع والوتر. 1. وهو نقيض الشفع. It is the opposite of shafwa. Shafwa is 2, witr is 1. What is the general meaning of this hadith? Amara an-nabiyyu mu'adhdhinahu Bilalan. The Prophet commanded Bilal, who was his official mu'adhdhin, and yashfa al-adhan, to repeat the words of the adhan twice. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You know that one is Swabi. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, hayya ala salat, hayya ala salat, hayya ala falah, hayya ala falah. 15 wordings. You see the breakdown. لأنه لإعلام الغائبين. Calling to prayer is to invite those who are not in the mosque to start coming toward the mosque. Fayati bi alfadhi masna masna. If you want to call someone, what do? You call him more than once so that he will hear. Sule, Sule. But say, Sule. You may say, I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you. Anas bin Malik said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to repeat things twice for us. Even when he teaches us, he will repeat it twice. And this is what some of the teachers have adopted. You want to teach students and you want them to understand, repeat whatever they're saying twice, so that they will understand. Wahaba ada at-takbir, apart from the Allahu Akbar at the beginning. The Allahu Akbar at the end is twice. But the one at the beginning is what? 4 times. Fi awwalihi faqad thabata tarbi'uhu. At-tarbi' means to say it 4 times. It has been established that you say it 4 times. Wa kalimatu tawhid fi awwalihi. Fi akhiri. Also minus the la ilaha illallah at the end. That one is also once. Faqad thabata ifraduha. You have to say it once. Hayya ala al-falah, hayya ala al-falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Once. You don't say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. No. Thabata ifraduha. Just once. Kama amara Bilalan aydan an yutira al-iqamata li'annaha litanbih al-hadirin. The Prophet also commanded Bilal that when you do the Iqamah, it's just one. They are already in the mosque. They don't need that you repeat it. They are already here. So just chap. Allah Akbar, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Ayyala Salah, Ayyala Falah, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Allah Akbar, La ilaha illallah. Those who say Wayutir al-Iqamah and stop here said Qadi Salat is to be said once, based on this hadith. But the riwayah in Bukhari is what we call Ziyadatu Thiqah in the sense of hadith. One of the reporters of the hadith, who is a trustworthy narrator, mentioned in Lali Iqamah in his own narration that apart from the Qadi Salat, all other things have been said once. This is why you have Qadi Salat, Qadi Salat, according to some people. So whichever of the two you do is correct. Wallahu ta'ala. Do you understand? وَذَلِكَ بِأَنْ يَأْتِيَ بِجُمَلِهَا مَرَّةً مَرَّةً. The sentences in the Iqamah are to be mentioned just once. وَهَذَا أَدَاءَ التَّكْبِيرِ. Apart from the Allahu Akbar in the beginning. وَقَدْ قَامَتِ الصَّلَاةِ فَقَدْ ثَبَتَ تَثْنِيَتُهُمَا فِيهَا. There is another hadith that said both of them are to be said twice. It is the narration of Abu Mahzura, as we will see in the discussion. So, are we okay with this? I think we should stop here, inshallah. So, I will take a few questions. Inshallah, next Wednesday, we will continue from where we have stopped. But I want us to know that the Adhān is very important, especially for men. For women, they are not to give the Adhān. They are not to give the Adhān, except if they are in a place where only women are and nobody can hear them. You know, the Adhān is not something you give under nose mask. It is something you raise your voice. It is not because the voice of a woman is aura, abadan. The voice of a woman is not aura. A woman can speak if need be. She should just be modest. فَلَا ضعن بالقول فيطمع الذي في قلبه مرض. Some men cannot withstand the voice of a woman. Women naturally like to speak in a very gentle way. You are not married and you know bedroom voice, brother. So women like to speak very gently. So sometimes they deliberately beautify their voice. Why do you think all these telecommunication companies use the voice of a woman for their computer? Because the voice of a man is coarse. Look at me now, talking coarsely. A woman, gentle and sweet and soft, all of this. So women are exempted from Adhān. In fact, Iqāmah, if women are praying in Jama'ah, they may not give the Iqāmah. It's not compulsory for them. Not compulsory. Now, the Adhān and the Iqāmah, we mentioned they are obligatory, Fard Kifaya. But without the two of them, your salat is valid even though you are a sinner. Are you following? If you pray without calling to prayer, when you came to the mosque, the imam just went ahead, he say, Allahu Akbar, no Iqāmah, فَصَلَاتُكُمْ صَحِيحًا لَكِنَّكُمْ تَأْثَمُونَ أو لَكِنَّكُمْ آثِمُونَ. Your salat is valid 100%, but you are sinners. Every one of you is a sinner. You have to go and do istighfar. Allah Ta'ala Adam wa sallallahu alaihi wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sallam. Now, the relating to the